Hey, what's going on YouTube? Today we're doing a review about the A6300, the Sony camera. I mean, it's pretty impressive, so stay tuned. So the first thing I want to talk about is obviously the main feature that is pretty good is the internal 4K. I mean, Sony says use 6K. It's actually downsampled 6K to 4K. So I mean, it's pretty sharp from what I use it for. I mean, I have the original A7S right here, and I mean, that was the only downside I hate about it. I mean, it was a phenomenal camera. 1080p is sharp. I mean, everything was sharp, but it was just the caveat was the fact that it didn't shoot 4K internally. You only do it for HDMI, doing that, Atomos or anything that records 4K. The video functionality, I mean, it has zebras, it has peaking. I mean, it has pretty much things that a more professional camera will have. I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, the peaking, I don't really use zebras at all. I mean, for you, I usually can tell when it's overexposed. The only time I can really tell when it's not overexposed is S-Log, but you gotta, I can handle S-Log, but that jumps into our other thing is the S-Log 2 and 3. I mean, the fact that it has S-Log 2 and 3 in this price range, it's pretty impressive. Only cameras that has S-Log 3 in the A-series cameras are the A7S. The A7S Mark II, actually. So the fact that this camera has S-Log 3, not even the A7R2 has S-Log 3. So the fact that this camera has it, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't recommend S-Log 3. I mean, it's really, really flat, and then it's an 8-bit camera. Just use S-Log 2 if you can. I mean, if you're good at color grading and whatever, then, you got LUTs, S-Log 3, but S-Log 2 and 3 is pretty phenomenal. So another feature I want to talk about is autofocus. I mean, the autofocus, I didn't really use it that much, but it's pretty fast. I mean, as far as like mirrorless cameras, it's pretty fast. I mean, I use the 80D, the 70D, and they use a dual pixel autofocus, and the fact that this camera has it, but not has it, I'm sorry, this camera has a really fast autofocus. It's pretty good. It has 425 phase detection, so it's pretty good, and the face recognition is pretty impressive too. I don't use it that much, but for those who like to use that kind of stuff, it's good. The low light, I mean, for an APS-C camera, I mean, the low light is pretty good. I mean, it is really, really good. You look at the low light, I mean, most Super 35 APS-C, whatever you want to call it, I mean, it's pretty impressive for what you pay. I mean, the low light 6400, I'd say 6400 is probably as good as you can go. I mean, if you want to go 8000, I mean, if you got some denoiser or whatever, some kind of denoising software, then why not? But the highest I topped it off at 6400 ISO. But the fact that it even goes to 64 ISO, yeah, that's pretty impressive. I mean, my first Canon T5i topped out like 1600 ISO, and I mean, that was, even then it was pushing it. So the fact that this camera is an APS-C or a Super 35 millimeter, and it 6400 ISO, I mean, that's pretty impressive. So the viewfinder, I like the fact that, we're not gonna go into about the resolution of the viewfinder or anything like that. I mean, if you wanna know about that, read about it. I'm pretty sure there's other reviews. But the viewfinder, I like the fact that with Sony cameras, you can use it doing video. It feels more like a pro camera. The fact that you can actually shoot video and actually look through the viewfinder with a bright sunny day. You don't have to sit here and look at the washed out LCD screen. And I mean, it's, yeah, the 120 frames a second. Now, I mean, there is no other camera right now at $1,000 that shoots at 120 frames a second. This is the only camera that shoots at 120 frames a second. I mean, maybe go find an older A7S, the original one. I mean, but even that, I mean, it shoots at 120 frames a second, but it's only at 720p. But this one shoots at full HD 720p, 120p. So it's pretty good. And then you could get, 60 frames a second also. So you get that also. You get 60 frames a second. So you got lightning fast autofocus. You got 60 frames a second. So you got two variations of slow motion you can use for your video or whatever you're shooting. I typically like to shoot at 60 frames. So we're gonna talk about we're gonna come back to the 120 frames a second. So this is some test review footage that I shot with this camera. So con number one, pretty sure everybody knows about this. With every A7S camera, every Sony A Alpha camera, that rolling shutter, I mean, man, oh, it's really bad. I mean, it's like almost unusable. I mean, in 4K, it's only really bad in 4K. You know, 4K 24p. I didn't, you know, I heard some people say they use at 30 frames a second. I typically don't shoot at 30 frames a second, and I was just pushing this camera as far as it can go. So I shot everything at 4K 24 frames a second. So it was, I mean, it's really bad. I mean, if you walk hard enough, you can actually see the rolling shutter. So you have to be kind of careful when you're walking, because the camera really, the rolling shutter will start to show effect if you're walking too hard. Something that I feel like Sony could have improved on, but I guess they wanted to save the A7S series, all the other A7 series cameras, so they tried to, hey, let's not make the rolling shutter as good. So, but the thing about it is that in 1080p mode, the rolling shutter is pretty much non-existent, which is, I mean, with the A7S, I mean, it was really bad. But with this camera, I mean, I guess it's a Super 35, and I mean, the rolling shutter is pretty much non-existent in 1080p. So, I mean, you can do quick pans, and I mean, it's very minimal rolling shutter at all, if any, which they nailed it getting rolling shutter at 1080p on this camera, but they also had some major drawbacks of making the rolling shutter on 4K pretty much really bad. So, no fast panning if you use this camera. The other thing is overheating. So about a week or two ago, I mean, if you go check out the other footage we have, I shot the whole thing on the A6300. I shot it on purpose, the A6300, because I wanted to see how good it shot. And I want to show you guys how good it is in cinematography, and I wanted to show how good it is in video features. So yeah, now the overheating came into a problem. It was actually an effect. We was actually not even outside. We was indoors in an AC cooled house. And I mean, it was overheating. It overheated on me twice. So we had to stop a couple times. And I mean, I know I heard there's a new update out, and I heard that there's a lot of issues as far as your overheating, but that was before the update. So as of right now, when I used it, it overheated. And it kind of sucked, because it's kind of like, you know, I shot the whole thing in 4K, and I'm just like, why is it overheating? I mean, I pretty much think it's something that Sony should have fixed before they released it, but they obviously didn't. So I mean, that's the same thing with the A7R2. I never used the camera, but I heard they have quite a bit, you know, overheating issues, but they quickly addressed it. So that's one good thing. I mean, right now, so if you have overheating issues, there is an update. Please update your camera. The small body. I mean, some people. I mean, when I moved to the A7S, I didn't really like it for the small body. I mean, some people like it. It's all in preference. Like once you start attaching a lens and a microphone, just like it looks so weird when you build stuff on it. On this small little baby looking camera. I mean, you have a big rig, a shoulder rig, with this huge shoulder rig with, you know, your recorder, your microphone, your lights, and your monitor, and you got this small itty bitty baby camera. So I mean, some people like the small body. I personally do not like the small bodies of the A7 cameras. I wish it was slightly bigger. I mean, they don't have to be like 5D big or 1DX big, but bigger than what they're giving them. Another thing is the back LCD screen. It's just really hard. Sony just need to redo their screens. I mean, they're just horrible. They're really bad. I mean, they say, oh, it got all this resolution, but I mean, typically you can't see it. Obviously, we focus on, you can't barely even tell you're in focus. It's really hard to gain focus, trying to keep focus. Even though you're in focus, the peaking says you're in focus, but you really can't tell you're in focus. And I have to use peaking a lot because you don't even know if you're in focus or not. And then with the peaking, it's kind of hard because then you have to zoom in and make sure that you get the red dots in the eyes or whatever you're focused on. So that's one thing I feel like Sony should fix on, is the headphone jack. Yeah. There is none, and I'm pretty sure you all know there is no headphone jack in the A6300. Now, some people might not care because they say, hey, I record externally anyway. I do too. I usually typically record externally, but at sometimes you might not be able to record externally. So the short film we shot, or the short sketch we shot, what we did was we tried to record an external recorder directly into the camera so it'll be easier to sync in audio, sync in production. But what wound up happening is the fact we couldn't hear, it made this weird, nasty, beeping, rumbling noise that I couldn't hear it the whole time because of the fact that there is no headphone jack. So we went like half of the shoot not knowing we had bad audio. Yeah, that was pretty bad. Luckily we had our recorder recording at the same time, so we didn't lose any valuable audio. But the fact that we can't, I mean, I understand you guys they want to save the A7 series cameras, especially the A7S and the A7R2. So they have to save those cameras. So obviously they're going to try to cripple this camera in some kind of way. And I feel like it's a down. It's really bad. I wish they would have added a headphone jack. I mean, come on, we would like to monitor audio. We all know shooting audio is necessary. So for people like me and other people that want to shoot and sync their audio with their camera so they don't have to do any syncing or anything like that. I mean, luckily I use pluralize, so it's a little slightly easier for those when I didn't have pluralize. It was pretty hard to sync up your audio, and you know, especially coming from beginner. So the fact that you can't hear your audio, you have no idea what's going on, what you're hearing, you don't know, I mean, you don't know anything, you can't hear anything, because you know, these microphones are better than our ears half the time. And another caveat about the 120 frames a second, it's really, really soft. I mean, it's soft, and I mean, it's good, but I wouldn't use it I wouldn't personally use it. I mean, if you want to shoot slow motion, I personally say use the 120 frames a second. But overall, what I think about the camera, it's a really good camera. I mean, I love shooting videos, I love shooting cinematography. So as far as video people that love shooting cinematography, if you were questioning on the fence about this camera and didn't know where you want to get it, I would say it's a plus. I would say it's get it. Yeah, it has its downsides. What camera does is no perfect camera. We all know that. There's gonna be more content in the future, you guys. It's a brand new channel. If you guys have any more questions about this camera, please link down in the description. I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. That's it for review. So we'll see you guys later.